7 more medieval heating hacks that work better than your furnace. Forget your thermostat. Forget central heating. Forget everything you thought you needed to survive winter. Because back in the Middle Ages, people had to endure winters so cold and cruel. Even your modern heater would cry. These are 7 more historical heating hacks. Some so clever, so effective, that they might just outdo your modern furnace. These aren't fairy tales or myths. They're real techniques used by real people in castles, cottages, and peasant huts across Europe and beyond. And the best part, some of them still work today. And yet, they survived. Not just survived, they thrived. In this video, we're diving deep into the forgotten world of medieval heating. The medieval period, roughly spanning from the 5th to the 15th century, wasn't just a time of knights and castles. It was also an era of hardship, especially in winter. Fuel was scarce, wood had to be chopped by hand, and winter storms could wipe out entire villages. Yet, in all that difficulty, humans adapted. This video isn't just a historical exploration, it's a survival guide. These heating methods are not only fascinating, some might inspire you to prepare for energy blackouts, build off-grid cabins, or simply make your modern home more energy efficient. So if you're curious how people stayed warm through brutal winters without electricity, without insulation, and without gas lines, keep watching. By the end of this video, you might want to ditch your thermostat and go medieval yourself. Check out this hack. Number 1. The cloister walk heat trap. Let's start in the stone-cold silence of a medieval monastery. The air is crisp, your breath fogs in front of you, and there's no fireplace in sight. But monks didn't just pray, they engineered warmth. One of their greatest inventions, the cloister walk heat trap. This was a U-shaped covered corridor, usually surrounding a garden. One side was carefully aligned to face the sun. Thick stone walls absorbed the solar heat during the day, releasing it slowly at night. Monks would use this corridor not just for prayer walks, but for warmth. In regions like France and Italy, these cloisters became essential places of refuge during the cold months. Herbs such as rosemary and lavender were planted along the sunny edge. The corridors were narrow, limiting heat loss and maximizing body heat retention from monks walking through. These weren't just facente, were hardy plants that could survive the chill and helped retain heat. This made the cloister a quiet, wind-free bubble of relative warmth. Off-grid homes today use similar sun-trap corridors to heat living spaces. Want a zero-electricity hallway heater? Build a cloister. Architects deliberately designed the stone floor to be darker in color, improving its ability to absorb solar energy. What made it even more genius, the heavy wooden doors at each end trapped air inside, preventing wind tunnels from forming. In modern terms, this was solar gain and insulation centuries before we gave it a name. Hack number 2. Hearth pit and radiant stone floors. Now imagine you're a medieval peasant. No castle, no thick walls, just a wooden cottage surrounded by snow. What do? You dig a pit in the center of your home, a fireplace not built up but dug down. Some call it a hearth pit. Women would cook over the low fire, while children sat on the warm stones doing chores or mending clothes. Around this pit, you place large flat stones or clay tiles. You keep a fire burning slowly throughout the day, and by nightfall, those stones are radiating heat across the room. This setup had multiple functions. It was the cooking area, the heat source, and often the social center of the household. In Eastern Europe, this technique evolved into the creation of pechkas, massive brick ovens that warmed entire homes from within. These radiant floors didn't just keep feet warm, they retained heat well into the morning. The idea of underfloor heating reached an entirely different level with the Ondel system, where heated air flowed through passages beneath stone floors. In more advanced medieval societies, like Korea during the Goryeo period. Bonus trick. In some homes, people poured hot water into hollowed logs or clay pots, then slid them under the floor stones to increase humidity and heat. Smart, right? Today, underfloor heating systems mimic this exact principle only. We use pipes and wires instead of fire pits and clay. Hack number 3. 4-poster bed heat zones. What's more medieval than a giant bed with curtains? We often think those 4-poster beds were for decoration or privacy, but they were functional heat chambers. Heavy velvet, wool, or fur drapes surrounded the bed. At night, you'd close them shut, trapping your body heat and creating a microclimate inside your sleeping space. These beds acted like thermal cocoons. Even in rooms with stone walls and icy drafts, people stayed surprisingly warm inside. In large halls, without fireplaces, these beds became essential to survival. In some cases, entire families slept together not just for love or space, but for shared warmth. Layered bedding included linen sheets, straw mattresses, wool blankets, fur pelts, and embroidered quilts. Fun fact: in noble houses, servants would preheat beds with stones wrapped in cloth, or bed warmers filled with embers before the lords arrived. In especially frigid areas, children would be sent to warm the bed by lying in it before their parents turned in. Today, canopy beds may seem old-fashioned, but their function was ahead of their time. Try hanging heavy curtains or blankets around your bed jewel. Create a personal heat zone instantly. Hack number 4. Wall tapestries as insulation. When you picture a medieval castle, you might see giant tapestries on the walls, maybe scenes of battles or royal hunts. What you might not know is those tapestries weren't just for show. They were survival gear. Castle walls with thick but stone holds cold like a sponge. Hanging wool or linen tapestries on the walls acted as a layer of thermal insulation. Behind them, cold air was trapped and neutralized. Wealthier homes went a step further. Some used double-layered tapestries with padding in between. These not only kept rooms warmer, but also blocked out moisture and reduced echo in large halls. Churches also used large tapestries in cold months to close off sections of space and create warmer pockets for prayer or study. You can recreate this in your own home with thick rugs or blankets hung on walls. Not only does it warm the space, but it adds texture and color too. Today, some eco-homes use quilted or wool-insulated wall. Hack number 5. Sleeping with sheep. This one's both surprising and effective. In peasant homes, winters got so cold that people brought livestock, especially sheep, into the home. Not as pets, but as living, breathing heaters. A single sheep can radiate about 400 watts of heat. That's like a mid-sized space heater. Multiply that by 5 or 6 animals, and you're generating enough warmth to survive sub-zero nights. Some homes even had barn spaces under or beside the living room. The body heat would rise through wooden floorboards, warming the family above. On harsh nights, that wall became a giant radiator. It also kept animals from freezing. In some parts of rural Germany and Scandinavia, it was common for the family home and stable to share a wall. Gross, maybe. Brilliant. Absolutely. It wasn't just about warmth either. The presence of animals created a psychological comfort during the long, dark winters. Hack number 6. Fire bricks, soapstones, and bed warmers. Before microwaves, before hot water bottles, there were soapstones, fire bricks, and ember pans. Soapstones were placed in the fire during the evening. Once heated, they were wrapped in wool and placed into beds, boots, or carriages. Some stones retained warmth for up to 8 hours. In wealthier homes, brass or copper bed warming pans were filled with embers and slid under bed covers before sleep. These could dangerously ignite if misused, but when handled properly, they turned icy sheets into cozy havens. Blacksmiths also produced long metal rods that could be heated and placed into special boxes beneath beds. In Iceland, these tools were passed down from generation to generation. Even bricks or iron tools heated by the fire were used in shoes and pockets. Safer, simpler, and just as effective. Modern idea. DIY bed warmers using clay bricks or oven-warmed stones. Hack number 7. Turf houses and underground homes. Now let's head north to Iceland, Greenland, and parts of ancient Scotland. Here, people built turf houses, dwellings with walls and roofs made of thick, insulating earth and grass. These homes were often dug partially into hillsides to shield from wind and trap geothermal warmth. Temperature inside stayed stable year-round, cool in summer, warm in winter. The thick turf worked like nature's insulation, while the narrow entrances kept drafts at bay. Many homes had only one central fireplace, yet the heat would be preserved for hours due to excellent insulation and compact design. The floors were often raised, platforms layered with straw or wool, creating a heated sleeping platform above the central hearth. Today, this idea lives on in earth-sheltered homes, cob houses, and off-grid eco-friendly designs. Conclusion. So, what do all these medieval heating hacks have in common? They used natural materials, smart design, and human ingenuity. No fossil fuels, no wires, no fancy tech, just knowledge passed down through generations, sometimes lost. Sometimes it's found again. They remind us that we don't always need the latest technology to survive and even thrive. Sometimes the answers are buried in history. As we face rising energy bills, fuel shortages, and climate concerns, maybe it's time to look backward for solutions. Which of these hacks would you try this winter? The radiant stones, the heat-trapping bed, maybe not the sheep unless you're really brave. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if you enjoyed the journey through history. Subscribe for more forgotten life skills and historical wisdom. And don't forget to hit the bell because we've got more where this came from. Thanks for watching. Stay warm, stay curious, stay medieval.